I welcome you to this lesson of P7 of Term 1 English. My name is Teacher Mandy. Like you have been following in other lessons, we are looking at Term 1's work. Term 1's work is where our focus is. So today, our attention will shift to something strange, and that is order of adjectives. Order of adjectives. We believe in other classes, you have learned about what adjectives are, and maybe to remind ourselves a little, adjectives are words that are used to describe nouns. Adjectives are words that are used to describe nouns or to modify nouns. In other words, we use adjectives to add more information to nouns. So, adjectives are a very wide topic. It's such a wide topic. So, in different lessons, we look at adjectives, talking about different stuff connected to them. Previously, we looked at formation, then comparison. Today, the teacher is talking about order of adjectives. I aware, if you have been following English lessons, I can say from P1 to P6, yes, where you last learned about adjectives. You learned that adjectives can be many describing one noun. Yes, we can have many adjectives used to describe one noun. And those many adjectives do not just come in any order you want or the speaker may want. What do? We have a specific order we follow. When we are assembling adjectives, when they are describing one noun. Let's look at this note. When a sentence has a number of adjectives, they are arranged in a specific order. They are arranged in a specific order. And this order is summarized in the acronym NOPSH. Yes, NOPSHACOM PN. NOPSHACOM PN. That is our acronym. Master it. NOPSHACOM PN. We're going to learn what each letter stands for. It may sound like a strange language. You may feel the teacher is teaching Japanese or French, but this is English. However, this is something coined by teachers themselves to simplify work for the learners. Teachers are meant to be creative, and out of their creativity, they came up with this NOPSHACOM PN. PN. It's an acronym. What's an acronym? An acronym simply means a word formed from the letters that form. No, it's a word that's got from the short form of a different word. For example, I have this. NOPSHACOM PN, we are going to learn the meaning. We have your name. I'm just giving you an example of an acronym. Your name is a word, but PLE is not a word. PLE we mention letter by letter. When you come to acronym, we have, to your name, we have your name as a word. You can read it as a word. You have other acronyms like NASA, that one is beyond your level. We have other acronyms like UNESCO. UNESCO. Other acronyms like VAR. If your physics teacher taught you about keeping animals, he must have talked about this. But no worries, if you did learn about AVAR in physics, the P7 teacher will repeat it. P7 term 2, AVAR, Association of Veterinarians for Animal Rights. Then UNESCO, United Nations Education, Scientific and Health Organization. You name Ugandan National Examinations Board. All these can be read as words, meaning they are acronyms. So why are you calling this an acronym? Because it can also be read as a word. So the order of adjectives follows that acronym. Which acronym? NOPSHACOM PN. Since I'm calling it an acronym, it means each letter stands for a word. Let's look at the letters and which words they represent. Where the first letter is N, standing for number. N stands for number in NOPSHACOM PN. We follow NOPSHACOM PN to arrange adjectives in a sentence. where the first N in Opshacom N, PN stands for number. What do I mean by number? It means adjectives of number must come first. What are those adjectives of number? We are going to look at the details on the examples after reaching the the very last letter. So we have OP in the acronym Opshacom PN. OP stands for opinion, and opinion will here be telling us about the adjectives of opinion. We have different categories of adjectives, and they are the ones talked about in the acronym Opshacom PN. So we have S, which stands for adjectives of size. We have different adjectives of size. Then we have adjectives of shape. If you don't see the size, you must see the shape. If you don't see both of them, then you got the next one, which is age, and that is height. Examples of adjectives of height, details later. Age is letter A. Letter A represents adjectives of age. Then C stands for adjectives of color. Adjectives of color are what you represent using letter C. Next is O, which stands for origin. We have adjectives of origin, and these are normally they are called proper adjectives in fact, meaning they start with capital letters. They are written starting with capital letters. So origin tells us to talk about adjectives of origin, which are normally called proper adjectives or nationality words. Nationality words were taught right from P5. The teacher talked about them. P5, you learned about nationalities. So today, the teacher wants to give examples of adjectives of origin, and those are the nationality words we were taught in P5. Next is M, standing for adjectives of material. We are going to get examples when the time is right. Where P again stands for adjectives of purpose. Adjectives of purpose. And lastly, we have the N. This is a lie. It can't be number. You already have a number here. And now what is it? It should be the noun itself. You never change it to number. The last N is noun. The first N is for number. Now, do we have adjectives of noun? You may be wondering. And the answer is no. We don't have adjectives of noun. But we have the noun we are describing. Meaning, the adjective we are going to talk about in these sentences will be coming before the noun. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 categories of adjectives before you think of the noun. Is there a sentence with 9 adjectives? Even 10, even 12. But we normally have around 2, 3, 4, 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. I rarely see such numbers that require you to write 9 adjectives in one sentence. However, if it comes, you'll be able to deal with it because the teacher has already explained how we should arrange those adjectives. Let's go back to number. Adjectives of number. If you learned about numbers from P1, you learned that 1 is a number. So 1 is among them. Even first itself, the ordinal version of 1 is among them. What else? Other adjectives of number. Now, under adjectives of number, we can think of articles as well, because in numbers we also talk of determiners, and all articles are determiners. Article A. People didn't know that article A represents number 1. Article A shows you 1. If I say 100 people, that is 100 people, meaning A is similar to 1. I want a duster. Meaning I need only 1. So a duster means the same as 1 duster. You can also talk about an, which is used before nouns starting with vowel sounds. So we have an and a number. If I talk of a child holding an egg, you will know that is automatically 1 egg, meaning an still represents number 1. Article the same category because this part is for numbers as well as determiners. Next, talk of other numbers like several, other adjectives of number. like several, many, and so on, and so on, and so forth. So we have the next category, which is for adjectives of opinion, where we have words like ugly, ugly, and its opposites, beautiful and handsome, correct? We have smart, talk of heavy, talk of interesting, talk of words like brave, B-R-A-V-E. All those are in that category of opinion. Size, then shape. We'll start with size, then last shape. Size, adjectives. We have size. What can we say about size? We have words like fat. Adjectives like fat represent size. Plus its opposite, which is thin. Thin. One man, then we go to shape because of space. Next is slender. Slender. Talk of huge, talk of very large, etc. Go to shape. Shapes are taught in P.1. Kite, cylinder, rectangle, triangle, square. So all those are nouns, but change them to adjectives and you get words like cylindrical, rectangular. Those are now adjectives of shape. I've changed them from nouns, rectangle, to adjectives, rectangular, from circle, which is a noun, then to circular, for those are shapes. Adjectives of shape. Circular, triangular, sorry, space is nowhere to be seen, triangular, and many others. Height. Adjectives of height are not very many. You can talk of tall. You can talk of short. You can talk of high. What else? We may stop there for now. Adjectives of height. Still under size, one may think of short has its opposite as long. Is long under height? No. Long will go to size because height is measured going up. Then length horizontally. So something measured horizontally cannot be under height. Height is measured going up. So long may be the opposite of short, but it is under size. A long place. Next, we have adjectives of age. We have words like new, words like old, words like young, words like middle-aged, and so on and so forth, etc. Next, talk about color. Adjectives of color. Which adjectives of color can you think of right from P1 nursery? Blue. My best color, blue. Next, orange. Which other colors, which other adjectives of color? An orange ball. A ball that is colored like an orange. Red. Yellow. Brown, black, peach, pink, origin, under origin, talk of adjectives which we called proper adjectives. They start with capital letters. All adjectives of origin start with capital letters. Think of them and you'll know, you'll never forget your motherland, Uganda. From Uganda, we form the adjective as Ugandan. Which other proper adjectives can you think of? We have Rwanda, where we form the adjective as Rwandan. And some people form Rwandese, which is not bad. I prefer Rwandan. Next, after Ugandan, Rwandan, Ghanaian. From Ghana. Ghanaian. You write in Ghana, then you add something like piano. And many others. And many others. Next, adjectives of material. Think of a noun, look at it, and think of the material from which it was made. That's where we get to the adjective of material. If it was made out of gold, it should be either gold or golden. What else can you think of as an adjective or an adjective of material? We have items that are made out of metal. I have this tool which looks like a roller, but when I look at it, I feel I'm holding a metal. If it is made out of metal, then it is the material from which it was made. That's metal. And items that were made out of metal and described as metallic. Metallic, think of a blanket used at home. If it was made out of wool, then we describe it as woolen, W-O-L-L-E-N, and that is the British spelling of woolen. Which other adjectives of material can you think of? Think of a dress you wear, and that dress was made out of silk. Then its adjective is silken. We have cotton. Yes, we have cotton, but cotton remains cotton. Cotton is a noun as well as an adjective. Yes. Cotton can come in there as well, etc. And so on. You can't complete the list. They are very many adjectives of material. Purpose. Under purpose, under purpose, we think of adjectives that, in most cases, end in ing. Have I said all adjectives of purpose end in ing? No. I'm saying when we think of adjectives of purpose, we think of adjectives that mostly end in ing. LB. Not all ing adjectives belong to purpose. And not all adjectives of purpose end in ing. If interesting is an adjective of opinion, but it's not written here, it shows you a living example of what I've been explaining about. So we have adjectives of purpose. What do we think of when we learn about when we see adjectives of purpose? Think of adjectives that tell us the purpose for which the noun was made, or the purpose of the noun we are talking about. Here we have items. I normally give you this example. You've ever seen a pool where people go to swim, and the purpose of that pool is for people to enter there and swim and enjoy life. That's why it is called a swimming pool. Oh yeah, swimming. So swimming is an adjective as well as a noun. A swimming pool. A pool where people enter to swim. Talk of music. In music, when you're dancing, there's, in fact, before you go to music, I can also talk about swimming as well. So these are examples also connected to swimming. You have a swimming costume. Those who have ever gone swimming, you know there's a way you dress when you're going for swimming. And that dress code requires you to have a swimming costume. What you wear as you go swimming is a swimming costume. Swimming is an adjective modifying the noun costume in that sentence. Next, we have people who enjoy skating. We have skating boards. Yeah, boards that are made for skating. Skating boards, skating shoes. Let's think of others that do not end in ing. We have a car that is used to drive the bride, and that is a bridal. So bridal is an adjective describing or telling us the purpose of the car we are going to mention, or we have mentioned in our sentence. So we think of bridal cars. We have rotors at school, and some are called sweeping rotors or mopping rotors. Mopping can be an adjective in that case. a mopping rotor. Not a rotor that mops, but a rotor whose purpose is to show you who is supposed to mop at what time. That is a rotor. The noun. Do I need to give you examples of nouns? They are the ones that have been talking about in my examples. We have the word pool. You have heard of it. Swimming pool. Skating board. Boat. Talk of other nouns. A golden watch. Watch is a noun. A Rwandan child. Child is a noun here. A young, a short ruler. Ruler is a noun there. And so nouns have been taught since the world started. So, having learned about the different examples under each category, I now take you to the next, which is this time example sentences. How do we assemble sentences in the right order of adjectives? Rewrite the following sentences as one. Normally they say without using any conjunction, without using who, which, or that, or any comma. Those are the detailed instructions you normally get in your papers. So here we are being told to rewrite the sentences using, as one. You write the sentences below as one. I met a man in town. He was tall and fat. He was also light-skinned. Check the word also. It's like a bait. If you're not careful, you're trapped. So you're going to rewrite all these three sentences as one, without using any joining word, without joining, using a conjunction, a comma, who, which, or that. What happens? We have to first identify the adjectives in these sentences. After identifying them, fit them into this formula, then we see where each belongs. You'll excuse me, I'll have to grab off so that we start filling in or fitting them into this formula, and you see where they belong. We have the first adjective as, maybe we identify the noun as well, which is, yes, man is our noun. We said the word can also be an adjective in that line. Next is tall, we see tall here, indicated, then we see fat. Next, light skinned. If you are light skinned, then they must be talking about something like color. So let me run out these examples because you're going to use this to formulate the way our answer will flow. You need to pay attention at this point so that you don't say, but what if I say this? It also counts, it is okay. Maybe okay to you, not okay to everybody. So that's how we want to move. Follow the rules, things will be easy. I met a man in town. He was tall and fat. He was also light-skinned. We have article which is under number. The teacher just told you. Article is under number. Fine. Next, we have the word man, which is now the noun. Man is a noun. What else? We see the word tall. Where is it? For which category is that? Tall. Is it size or height? This height is measured going up. This must be under height. Tall, height. Then fat, like we said, fat is our adjective of size. Sorry, F-A-T. So what are we going to talk about? We are going to, we had forgotten one, which is light-skinned. And if you talk about someone who is light-skinned, then you are describing their color. Light, hyphen, skinned. We maintain the hyphen, though it was given to us. So what do we have here? We have a fat, tall, light-skinned. Oh, is this noun? It's not. It's a man. So our sentence will flow like a fat, tall, light-skinned man. A fat, tall, light-skinned man. But that's not a skeleton of our sentence. The correct sentence will be, I met a fat, tall, light-skinned man in town. In town. Our answer is here. I met a fat, tall, light-skinned man. If you are not careful, you can stop here. If you are careful, then you add these other words which make your sentence complete. In town. So finally, we have our answers. I met a fat, tall, light-skinned man in town. That's the right order of adjectives in that sentence. How many do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 adjectives well arranged. Fine. Next, I saw a girl. She was dark-skinned. She was from DRC. She was young. I saw a girl. She was dark-skinned. She was from DRC. And she was young. We'll go back to our formula and we try to fit in those words. Let's first identify the words we're going to need to put here on this list. We have yes, the noun is, the adjective is that's number. Then the girl should be our noun. Dark-skinned is there. It's an adjective. Noun from DRC. From DRC. There they are telling you to form a specific adjective. You're going to identify. Then she was young. Young is okay because it's also an adjective. That should be a last example, meaning you need to be attentive, more attentive. Article A, like we said, is under number because a girl means one girl. That's article A. Opinion, do you have anything like opinion? Girls, there's nothing. Then size, size is not seen anywhere. Shape, nowhere to be seen. Height, I can't say an adjective of height in that order. Next is age, girls, skin, young must be our adjective of age. So, young falls here. Color. Yes, I've seen the color. And that is dark-skinned. Or is hyphenate where it is required. Where the hyphen is provided, do not forget to use it. Then, do you have anything like origin? She was from DRC. Now, DRC, what is DRC? DRC is a country. Yes, when you cross the western border of Uganda, you'll enter a country called DRC, which some people know as Congo. But it's not Congo, it is DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo. And that is Congolese. Our adjective from DRC is Congolese. Our next category is material. We don't have any adjective of material. Then purpose. We can't see any adjective of purpose. Finally, the noun, which noun is that one. G-I-R-L, girl. Meaning our sentence will flow in this order. A young, dark-skinned Congolese girl. I repeat, a young, dark-skinned Congolese girl. So we write a full sentence now and say, I saw a young, dark-skinned Congolese, capital C. You write small sign more than a young, dark-skinned Congolese girl. Don't forget punctuate, and that will be your answer. Having done that, like I said, this is our last example. I believe I can now bless you as you go for an activity. And that activity is on your page 33 in the workbook. Page 33 of the workbook is where you'll find an activity about order of adjectives. Let's now close that chapter and open a new chapter, which is the passive of the present simple. The passive of the present simple. That's where we are. I'm talking about the passive of the present simple. I believe we have all had a chance to listen to one or two teachers teaching us about voices. Normally when you're teaching voices to beginners, you ask a question and get unique answers. I don't want to call them wrong, but they are just unique. So today we are looking at voices. In English we have two voices. When we talk about voices, we mean two things, and that is the passive voice, the active voice and the passive voice. Most of us construct sentences, but we can't tell which voice we are using because we have not yet taken trouble to listen to teachers to get the meaning of active voice and passive voice. So you have the passive of the present simple. Introduction was done in P6. Yeah, our P6 teacher must have talked about voices. Today, it's like a continuation, if not revision, of what the P6 teacher told us concerning voices. So in English we have two voices where we have active voice, for those who are learning this for the first time, and passive voice. Passive voice. What can I say about the active voice? What can I say about the active voice? In the active voice, there's a specific order of words in a sentence that is in active voice. Then the passive voice also, we use a specific order of words. For example, what do I mean by different order of words? Active voice, we talk about the subject, the verb, and finally the object. That is the active voice. Where the subject is the doer. The verb we know as is the word that expresses the action in a sentence, the action in a sentence. Where the object is the thing. Should I say the recipient? The recipient may be a strange word. Okay, the object is that thing to which the action is done in a sentence. An example of a sentence in this order is, example, Musa grows cassava. Simple sentence. Musa is the doer, so Musa is our subject. What does he do? He does this action. Which action? Growing. So Musa grows. To who or to which noun is the action of growing done? The action of growing is done to the noun cassava, meaning cassava is our object. Okay. Back to the passive now. With the passive voice, what do we talk about? We talk about a sentence that begins with the object, followed by the verb, followed by the, you can now guess, subject. So here it is OSVO. Then this side, OVS. How can it be? How can a sentence start with the object? It is true, especially if you think of this very sentence we have just talked about. Musa grows cassava. You get the answer as cassava first. The teacher told us we start with the object, cassava. By this time, the verb comes with another verb inside, and that is the helping verb, and that is, because you can't say cassava, cassava being food is uncountable, so use is. Cassava is grown by who? Musa. Briefly, this is the introduction we deserve to the passive voice of the present simple tense. All these sentences, both of these sentences are in the present simple, and the examples show us how we can change them from active voice to passive voice. I believe that introduction is enough. What you should note is a sentence in the passive voice begins with the object, then a sentence in the active voice begins with the subject. We now go to the pattern. And the pattern for the passive voice of the present simple tense, or the present simple, is given in this rectangle kind of shape you see. We have the pattern which is use some words here, and that should be the object. Then apply is. If you don't use is, which is already here, you can use depending on the object in your sentence. Then if you don't use you're going to use depending on the object in your sentence. Next, add a past participle verb. In this case, our past participle verb is grow. Past participle verbs. The verbs some people call the part 3 verbs. Past participle, what are they called part 3? We have part 1, which is the infinitive, part 2, and that is the past tense, then part 3, which is the past participle verb. Yes. So the order is all am plus past participle verb. If you want to get a sentence in the passive voice, in which tense? In the present simple tense, passive voice. Let's look at the examples. We will have instructions telling us to change the sentences below to passive voice. Change the sentences below to passive voice. Mr. Nkamba sets the midterm exams. I repeat, Mr. Nkamba sets the midterm exams. Change it to passive. You must identify the object. Mr. Nkamba is the doer, or is the agent, or is the, whatever that. The word subject can mean doer, can mean agent. We talk about voices, we talk about the agent, we talk about the agent or the doer or the subject in the passive voice. Mr. Nkamba sets the midterm exams. We have Mr. Nkamba as the doer. What does he do? He sets, which is our verb. Then what does he set? To whom? Or to which noun? Is the action of setting done? The action of setting is directed or done to the midterm exams. If you want to lose marks, reach and say, exams is our object. Never. Midterm exams is our object. Never. The object is a compound object, which is the midterm exams. Compound objects made up of two more nouns. So we say the midterm exams. The midterm exams are set. Because there are many, they are set by, use by to introduce the doer, and that is Mr. Nkamba. Don't forget to punctuate. The midterm exams are set by Mr. Nkamba. Our next sentence is somebody draws wonderful cartoons in that newspaper. Somebody draws wonderful cartoons in that newspaper. Today we see somebody as our doer, but do we know the exact person they are talking about? The answer is obviously no. You can't guess who somebody refers to. If I say somebody took away my duster, then I'm not very sure who exactly. Meaning, this is an unclear subject. And how we treat unclear subjects in the passive voice? They do not appear in the passive voice. I repeat, unclear subjects like somebody, like nobody, like someone, like everybody will never appear in the passive voice. They have no place in the passive. So we are saying somebody draws wonderful cartoons in that newspaper. So where is our subject? Wonderful cartoons. Is our not subject but object. The action of drawing is done to wonderful cartoons. Not wonderful cartoons in that newspaper. What does that somebody draw? He draws wonderful cartoons. So our object is wonderful cartoons. Meaning they begin our sentence. Wonderful cartoons, our subject. Since there are many, we are going to use helping verb am After helping verb, we talk of the main verb which must be in past participle form. Draws, change to past participle will become D-R-A-W-N. Wonderful cartoons are drawn. Should we say by somebody? The teacher has said not that. Why? Somebody is an unclear subject. We can't mention it in the passive. So we say wonderful cartoons are drawn in that newspaper. In that newspaper. One word. Full stop. That's the end of our sentence. Wonderful cartoons are drawn in that newspaper. You risk and say wonderful cartoons are drawn by somebody in that newspaper? Very wrong. Somebody has no place in the passive voice. They call her Jane. Today you are going to realize that many sentences in the passive voice may not require the doer, especially if you don't know the exact doer of the action mentioned in that sentence. They call her Jane. Who exactly is called Jane? You are not very sure. You may think of all people, yes, but do we know the specific people call her Jane? Never. That's why change to passive. Okay, they call her Jane. Her is our direct object, not Jane. Her is our direct object. But can her begin a sentence? If it comes to the beginning of the sentence, it will turn into a subject pronoun, and that will be she. Because we have she, what are we going to use? Is, am, or are? Obviously is. She is called, which is our past participle verb from call. She's called Jane. Don't say she's called Jane by name. She is called Jane. And that is our passive voice sentence, because this is another unclear subject which should not appear in the passive voice. For the activity about that work, you'll go to page 35 of the workbook. Page 35 of the workbook, you'll be able to get the details of the activity connected to passive voices. There's a dialogue before that, and I trust at this level we are able to deal with dialogue the right way as candidates. So you'll do that dialogue as well on page 34, and after that dialogue, you'll turn to the activity about this very lesson, which is on page 35. God bless you as you try out that, and good luck till we meet next time. I mean Teacher Monday, P.7 English.